So, welcome everybody. Whilst we're waiting for other people to join in, what would you like to talk about, deal with? What are your fears, worries, and doubts at the moment around, I don't know, the global situation, the local situation, any way you want to put it? So, over to you, anybody. Yeah.
I'm worrying about my mum.
Okay.
She's decided she wants to self-isolate.
Yeah.
But has invited us round for a Chinese on Sunday.
You're going to be in a different room.
Yeah. So I don't think she's quite got the grasp of all of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, also, I am worried about her.
Part of the self-isolation is not kind of complete disconnect. It depends on who you are, what level of risk you're at, and things like that. So yeah, it kind of it's not quite clear cut as to what it would be, and perhaps she just decided she needs some company.
Well, she's 80 now. She had another hip replacement just before Christmas. She's also got COPD and she had pneumonia just over a year ago. Okay. So I think she needs to really be isolated.
Yeah, my mum is similar. She had a procedure which was an injection, a steroid injection in the eye on Monday, which they went through ahead with that because they regarded it as something that needed to be done. But she's also had pneumonia in the last 18 months. She's had several fractured ribs from the fall that she had during the 21st party at Woodside a couple of years ago. And so she's also regarded as high risk.
Yeah.
And it's just being sensible. I'm regarded as vulnerable as well, and they've recommended that I stay in as much as possible and kind of try and avoid contact with people from the outside. So many people are going through this in many different levels, and it's interesting how different people react to this as well, so we can deal with that as well. So could you do me a favor? Would you type in what your concern was in the chat box, so we have a kind of a collection of the concerns that are here, and we can address as many of them as possible, depending on which are the ones that a lot of people are sharing. And at the end of the day, actually, we will deal with everything, because everything will just come down to one thing, and that's the easy way to deal with it. Who else? What are you concerned about that you would like to work on or deal with?
My challenge, which may or may not occur, of course, is if we ended up in some form of lockdown, not moving around at all next week, depending on where Phoebe is, that could really chuck up a challenge for however long we end up not being able to move around. I think we found a solution.
Yeah.
We're both just going to go out for a walk, which is perfectly acceptable even in lockdown, and we're just walking opposite directions and meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Hand her over, but that's the only real thing. Everything else is shit that's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a clever solution. Like kind of as you said, yeah, that's actually I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
It is, and when you let go of the fear, you start to come up with these solutions. It's the fear which holds us back from actually having access to a solution, because the fear is masking it.
Yeah, isolation sounded pretty crap, so I just went to B&Q today and bought a load of decorating stuff. Yeah. So all the decorating that hasn't been done for however long will just get done over the next few weeks.
I've got a spare room if you'd like to come in with all that.
I've got enough.
Who else? What are the concerns?
For me, it's about if I fall ill, and there's obviously this scare of the NHS not being able to cope. And I have a compromised immune system, so I'm just being sensible and taking precautions. But the fear is that if I do fall ill, and obviously there's a shortage of these ventilators, and it's just, you know, if I can't get the medical help that I need, or my son Jay, he's asthmatic. If he falls ill, you know, not having access to the healthcare, because I know there's a shortage. That's my biggest fear, I think, at the moment.
Okay, so would you again just type that into the chat box? What I picked up there was fear of the NHS not being able to cope with things, but underlying that is this thought, idea, belief, whatever you want to call it, is that you have a compromised immune system. That's the thing I would work on.
Okay.
Because if your immune system is fine, then would you have the fear of the NHS not coping?
No.
So who else? Yeah, Julia.
For me, it's the financial impact of this on our business, and how quickly it could be a big issue for us.
Okay, so financial impact, and I think a lot of people will empathize with that, because anybody who's in business for themselves will have that worry. I was invited to a webinar yesterday that Simon Chaplin was presenting in front of, I don't know how many accountants there were, but there were 50 plus accountants, and I would say every single one of them who has clients had the same worry. What else? Is anything different? So if you don't have any worries, what are you doing on this conference? Or you just want to keep it secret?
Yeah, I just echo what Julia said. It's just the whole uncertainty of not knowing when it's going to end, and how lives are changing quite drastically. I mean, you know, David mentioned, you know, he's gone and got his DIY stuff, and yeah, I'm being positive. I'm thinking about all the things that I'll be able to do if we do have a lockdown, all the things that I need to catch up on. So it's not an issue of kind of being isolated, but it's the kind of the devastation sort of worldwide, and the loss of lives, and, you know, if you look at the death tolls, and it's just not knowing when it's going to end, and it's just the whole uncertainty of everything.
Not knowing when it's going to end. Are you talking about coronavirus, or are you talking about life?
Coronavirus.
So do you know when life's going to end?
No.
You're sitting there worrying about it every day.
Yeah. I'm not worrying about it. I just feel it just makes me feel really uneasy. And obviously it's everything in the media and everywhere you look, and it's just there, you're just surrounded by it.
Mm-hmm. And do you believe all of it?
I'm stupid, yeah.
One of the earliest things I heard, it was probably about 2-3 weeks ago, it was just after I got back from holiday, was somebody said, asked a doctor, you know, what can I do to deal with all this fear and every, you know, all this overwhelm? He had a very simple solution. He said, switch off the TV and stop listening to the news. We're only worried because we've got these ideas planted into our heads about what it could be, and we assume that's the reality. And if we assume that's the reality, we're going to worry about it. So that's just a simple answer at the moment to that. What else? Any other worries? Yeah, Shaka. Let me unmute you. Okay.
Hi guys, hi everybody.
Speak up a bit.
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're very faint.
I don't know why I'm faint. I've been always You can hear me?
Yeah,
Is it-
that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't think it's worry about as such. I must admit, I was away last week, and I came back on Saturday, and basically I ended up really down, really low, and really scared. The reason why I ended up so low and so scared is because I was following far too much of news. I was following far too much of what people are posting on Facebook negative, and I've done obviously some. We had our coaching call, which really helped me, and I'm not really worried as such. I am, and I have managed like very actively. I am taking decisions about my life state, like really, and it's really weird. I'm not like worrying about such, but I'm in this state of kind of like limbo. You know, when somebody hits you with a hammer on the head, and you're kind of like, oh, what is happening? You know, this sort of state. But every time when I get paralyzed by this fear, I'm really actively choosing not to really succumb into it. Because I realized actually, you commented on it, I posted on Facebook about it yesterday. I just realized we've got no control about absolutely anything. I've got no control. If I'm supposed to be dead tomorrow, I will be dead. You know, I just have no control of it, really. And I think this is what is really unnerving. And certainly I have observed, I'm speaking for myself here, that's really unnerving for me. I don't know. I've been busy all life thinking that I've got control of my life. That I am having these goals and I'm creating this, and therefore I feel I'm in control. But now something like this virus happens, and I'm finding out I'm just so tiny. I've got no control of absolutely anything. So I'm just learning to accept I've got no control. And of course, I'm fearful. You know, I've been worried about my father. I'm worried when I'm going to see some people that I love and care about, you know. But I'm just like, I'm worried about it, but I'm not allowing that worry to actually get me, if it makes sense. I know that it's not probably my usual, oh, I'm scared, you know, or I'm naturally worried, but I'm choosing every time when I acknowledge that worry, I'm choosing not to worry. And I have decided, I have made one decision this week. I will follow the facts, hard facts about everything. And I will then.
Shada, can I just interrupt you briefly? Dave, do you want to just help Margaret get onto the seminar? She seems to be having a problem. If you just text her. Do you have a number?
I've just sent her a link via email.
Okay.
So hopefully she'll get it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, Shaka, go on.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I basically, and what's been really helping me, Sanjay, is your teachings in terms of its decision. Sorry?
Is that me shouting at you on Sunday?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. You know, shouting at me. What's been really helping me, basically, just thinking it's all decision. I've no control about anything. It's decision. I can't change what is happening outside, but I can change how I feel.
Okay.
What I have decided, because I've got no control of absolutely anything, I am worried about money. Who knows if I'm going to have business? I had a situation this week that I needed to basically, or I terminate employment with an employee who's been non-performing. And when basically we discussed this, she went into self-isolation. What do I do?
Okay.
You know, but one thing that I have decided, if I can say this, and then I will shut up and let others speak. But what I decided is that I will actively be supporting others through my own fears. And I mean emotionally as much as I can. Because one thing that I learned through the life, that when I'm shitting myself and I'm really unhappy about something, the best way to overcome it is to make decision and go and help somebody else maybe. And that's also We have
So-
forgotten smile. Nobody's smiling. Nobody's looking at everybody. Everybody's just in this cloud of being paralyzed.
I'm laughing because I feel like saying thank you very much, everybody. That's the end of the conference because you've just answered everything. There were a few sentences there which you said, which actually got to the nub of what all of this is about. One is we have no control, except of how we respond. And everybody is busy pretending that they have no power to respond. They just have to react. And everybody wants to be in control of when they die, when at the end of the day, you have no control over that. You don't get to decide when you die. And the bottom line is, this is nothing except the fear of dying. Underneath every single fear that you have is the fear of dying. If you face that fear, and if you accept that fear, you're done with fear. Fear can never again scare you. It can have a bloody good go, but it can never really scare you because you'll catch it. And so you become the master of fear rather than the servant and the victim. So if you really want to deal with this, and let's be honest, there are people across the world that are dying. There are people across the world that are going to die. There may be people on this conference that may not survive the next few weeks or months. And I'm being honest about this. I don't know if I'm going to survive. None of you know if you're going to survive. That's the uncertainty that's out there. So let's be real and just face that fear. Because if we face it, life changes. And you can start to live life in a very different way. So that's the kind of bottom line. Let me come back a bit. Go back to basics. I'm sure you all remember the chart of emotions. You remember about the line. Where is fear? How far below the line is it?
Third up from the bottom.
Third up from the bottom, but energetically, it's actually very close to the bottom. The change is exponential along the curve. Fear is a very low energy. How strong do you think your immune system is going to be whilst you're scaring yourself? Because you're literally scaring yourself to death. You are weakening your immune system, and then you're saying, somebody come and help me. Somebody come and save me. I'll do the best I can to sabotage the whole bloody process, but somebody save me. Take responsibility. You have the power to either hang on to fear, and many people will, or to let go of fear. If you let go of fear, if you rise above the line, there is absolutely no guarantee that you're going to survive this any more than somebody who's in fear. But the odds of you surviving, the odds of you living through this increase dramatically, but there's no guarantee. If you stay below the line, there is all likelihood that you will not survive. Not just this, but anything. So the choice is, would you rather have no hope or would you rather have some hope? That's the bottom line choice. If you stay below the line, I can't guarantee it, but I put money on it. That the people who stay below the line are the ones who are going to die. Other ones are going to catch coronavirus, even when they may have been the ones who could have got away with it, because you have a compromised immune system. So the one thing that I recommend, and David Hawkins, whilst he was alive, said the best thing you can do for the world, for everybody in your life, including yourself, the best and the only thing you can do is increase your own level of vibration or energy. How many people do you know not counting yourself, how many people do you know are absolutely crapping themselves right now about all sorts of things? There is no guarantee any of it is going to happen, but they're living it before it even happens. And we all do this. I do this at times, and I'm fortunate. I'm surrounding myself with people who pull me up on it. As soon as they detect it, they'll pull me up on it. Are you doing the same? The power of this community, and this costs absolutely nothing. If you're on the internet and you're paying for the internet and you're on Facebook, this community costs you absolutely nothing except one thing, or two things actually. It's your time and your commitment. And through this group, through this community, we can help each other. Every single one of us can help each other get through this. That's the power of what's come together. And this is our test as a community. This is our chance to either rise up to the challenge or to run away from it and be destroyed by it. This is a chance to make a difference to the people around you or to be the difference. So listen to me, and to make a difference to the people around you or to be the difference.
What is the difference?
Sorry?
What is the difference?
You are the difference.
But
Your energy is the difference.
when you say be the difference, you mean or make the difference. How?
You
No,
don't
I
need
don't understand.
So you won't understand because it's in the place of being. There is nothing to understand in being, and the mind will never understand this. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go, nobody to be, except who you are. That doesn't mean you never feel fear. When you feel fear, feel fear. Julia, can I bring you on just to switch your microphone on? First question, how easy was it to feel the fear? Really just feel it and let it dissipate, because the fear burns itself out.
Yeah, it was very easy, actually.
And did it stop all fear? Or have you just had the week from hell?
Oh, I've just had the week from hell.
Yeah, it doesn't stop fear, but it shows you how easy it is to deal with it.
Yes.
And you're probably being infected by Paul because he was on the training on Saturday, and that training stirred up everything for people. I didn't say that on the day, but he was liable to stir up everything. If you want to be a master of money, if you want money mastery, it's going to stir up all the shit. And coronavirus has come up with the answer.
So it's all your fault.
Yes, it's all my fault. He will stir up everything. If you want a life worth living, you're going to have to let go of all these fears. It's as simple as that. If you want a life worth living, you're going to have to let go of all of this shit that you've accumulated, that I've accumulated, that everybody's accumulated. We can do it together as a group, and you know the power of the group because you've all been on emotional mastery. Or we can do it as individuals. Who's seen the film Any Given Sunday? It's about American football, if you haven't seen it. It's worth watching because it's got nothing to do with American football. That's the backstory. And if you do a search on YouTube and just put down Any Given Sunday locker room speech, you will come across this small clip of Al Pacino giving a talk to a team that's dying out there on the field. They're getting, the crap beaten out of them, if I can put it that way. And they were working as individuals. And it's a really inspiring few minutes. Because he says something like, we can die as individuals out there. But he was talking not about America, he was talking about life. We can die as individuals. Or we can come together as a team and fight inch by inch. fight for every inch to reach the end goal. So go and watch that clip if you get a chance. Because the opportunity and the invitation I'm giving you is you can die as individuals or you can be a part of this community. Being a part of this community means taking active part, not just watching from the background, watching what other people are saying. It's being an active part. Those of you that are part of the Money Mastery Forum now, why haven't you posted on there? Why haven't you posted on the exercise I said, which you should have done by now? If you don't want to take part of the exercise, that's fine. I'll just take you off the forum because you said you don't want to take part in Money Mastery. If you want to take part, then be present, be active.
Which exercise?
Have you joined the forum?
Yes, but I
Okay,
saw something about £5 there, but
Yeah,
I thought because I haven't
Okay,
attended on Saturday.
okay, those of you who are on EM Plus that weren't there, I am going to add all of you to the forum because we're going to be adding stuff over the next few days and weeks to help all of you through this period. Dave, I'm going to set you a task. Would you record a video just explaining the exercise to people and put it up on there?
Yeah.
And those of you that aren't on the forum, we'll put it up on EM Grads as well, because you can take part in this exercise. You will learn a lot. Paul, how was it for you? Because you shared some remarkable learnings, but I don't know if you were aware of the learnings on there. And Margaret also, she shared something. She had a very different experience. But I want to know what's your experience, because Money Mastery is the same as life mastery. The thing is, people will do more for money than they'll do for their health or life. So just do the exercise on Money Mastery and you're actually covering everything you need to. But take part. If you want to survive this period, if you want to come out of this period, and I know a lot of you in business and you're worried about the business, if you want to come out of it, not just having survived, but with the ability to thrive, then do your homework now. Don't wait until this is over to do your homework. Do it now whilst you're sat at home with nothing to do. John, Dave, do you want to add anything? Because we've spoken a bit about this.
I think I would add, off the back of things that were discussed on Saturday, and you know, the nub of everything seemed to come to me down to the fact money is energy, and allowing the energy to flow, and that applies more than ever now. And it could be, you know, small businesses that are suffering. Maybe the temptation is, I'll hang on to all my money now because, you know, I don't know what's coming in. Well, why don't allow it to flow? For those of us that are in, you know, business, our own businesses, you wouldn't be in business for yourself if you were worried about where the next job was coming from. And so up till now, I've never worried. I've always assumed that work will come in, and it does. And all of a sudden, it's now the first thought this morning was, right, where don't I need to spend? Where don't I need to let money out? And you think, no, that's not what we spoke. That was not what Saturday was about. It was that abundant thought, the abundant nature. And we were talking about loving and allowing love to flow and allowing energy to flow. And that's more important now than ever. So off the back of what you've said about this community, this group that we've got, if we start allowing everything to flow, energy to flow, love to flow, money to flow.
Do you remember the demonstration with the fizzy bottle? If the lid is on the bottle, the energy can't flow. If you put the lid on your fears, on your thoughts, on your emotions, your energy cannot flow, and you are slowly but surely dying because the energy will destroy the container from the inside. It's just trying to flow. So you have to allow energy to flow. If you want to survive through this, if you want to get through this, if, God forbid, you catch it and you still want to be able to get through it, you better allow your energy to flow. Because medicine is wonderful, it can do all sorts of things, but it is still dependent on you allowing your energy to flow. What do I know about this? The only experience I can relate to is my second heart attack, which was the big one, because I had to be rushed into hospital. And whilst I was being rushed into hospital, I was peaceful, I was calm. And maybe it was the drugs they pumped into me, I don't know, but I was peaceful and calm, and they rushed me straight in, and they were operating within minutes. But energetically, because I was in that place, whether it was drug induced or whether it was because I knew I was thinking clearly to the point at which I remember having the thought, this could be it. And I was surprised that no fear came up. Because I knew by that point, I'd actually lived life. I'd done everything possible. I hadn't done everything, but I'd done everything possible up till that point. And the energy flowed. And I remember a few days later, late at night, one of the doctors on the ward, on the intensive care unit, was hanging around well beyond his time. And I was allowed to actually get up and walk a bit. So I kind of got up out of bed and walked along to the station where, he was standing around, seemingly doing some paperwork. I said, "What are you still doing here?" And he said, "Oh, I can get things done whilst I'm here. So I prefer to stay here rather than go home." And it didn't quite sound right. So we got talking, and he asked me questions about me, and so I started sharing. And he said, "Looking at the charts, I'm surprised you're walking around still." And I told him what I do, and he took a great interest in that, because I was talking about letting go of the fear. And he said, he recognized rather that everybody that pretty much came in there was terrified of dying. And so we had this kind of conversation late at night. That was pretty enlightening, certainly for me, if not for him, because again, I made connections, and it was all about allowing the energy to flow. You are an energetic being. The lesson of the casino for me, working with Tolly, was he said, you are an energetic being. You will influence or you will impact the electromagnetic devices that the slot machines are. They're not mechanical now, they're electromagnetic. And he said, if you change your energy, there is no choice but for the energy of the machines to be impacted. That was his learning. And for me, it was through this. So I'm saying to you, if you want to live through this, start to allow your energy to flow. Any way you discover a blockage, deal with it, because we have lots of them. They've been installed in us, programmed in us, whatever you call it, over a lifetime. This is an opportunity to let go of all of it so that you can truly live as the amazing person that you are, each and every one of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the invitation.
It was just picking up on something that Sharka said, which is something that's resonated with me over the past few days, and that is quite a lot. The spiritual teachers talk about having breakthroughs or waking up at times when they were absolutely desperate, when they had absolutely hit rock bottom, and quite a few of them relate a similar kind of experience. And what Sharka said it was the idea of complete surrender. And to me, I'm saying to people that it's been a weird week in terms of the fact that I've felt at times completely overwhelmed, and yet at exactly the same time completely in acceptance. And to me, so this is actually an opportunity to completely surrender. And what I mean by completely surrender, I'm talking about surrendering the wants and just letting it all go. So this is actually an opportunity to have done with it. And if you do that, then energetically you're moving to a place of acceptance and a place of peace. And peace is where the energy flows through you. So, you know, that's my particular take on it from that point of view.
Yeah, and it is an opportunity. Coronavirus has given us all the opportunity to face our biggest fear, which is death, dying before our time. How dare we die before we're ready to? We have no control. And in that, we have to surrender everything. And I mean everything, every fear, every desire, we have to surrender that. We have to throw it into that pot, into the fire, and let it burn and be done with it. And out of that comes a freedom. And it's not about money, it's not about health, it's not about getting something. It's about freedom from something, freedom from suffering. Jenny, can you just say what you put up onto the chat, because not everybody would have seen that. So can you just share that?
Yeah, where a wise man once told me, his name is Sanjay, that you either live fully or you die slowly. And that was a real light bulb moment for me. I just, and I try and think about that every day. I'm feeling sad or happy. That's one of the phrases that just is in my mind, and it's really powerful.
And it's true. You either live fully or you die slowly. The majority of the people on this planet are dying slowly. They're waiting to die slowly. And they're hanging on because they're not ready to die, but they're waiting to die. Or you live fully and you die each and every day to every fear that comes up, to every desire that comes up. You die to everything. Tolly, one of my teachers, wrote a book, Dying to Live, and that's also what it was about. And what I learned in my work soon after that, I was working with a lot of people, mostly people who had been diagnosed with terminal illnesses, was the people who had been diagnosed with a terminal illness, whether they survived and lived or whether they died, they were dying to live every day. But they had to die to all the fears. They had to die to all the crap of the mind. And so they lived. Cheryl, who is part of this forum, she's experienced that because she was diagnosed and she was told she had 5 years to live. That was probably about 7-8 years ago. And when she met me and came to EM, it was year 3 into those 5 years. So that she had 2 years left. And she said she used to wake up each day thinking, is today the day? Is today the day when something happens and I start to deteriorate? And since Emotional Mastery, she's lived. She stopped letting fear rule what she did, and she started living fully.
Sanjay, can I just talk about?
Yeah, sure.
I remember that day again. I remember that day really clearly because she came up to the front and she said, "I've been given 5 years and I'm 3 years in to a life sentence." And someone said to her, "Well, how do you know?" And she said, "Well, that's what the doctors told me." And they said, "Well, how do they know? Do you know that to be a fact?" And that was I think the whole room, the energy in the room just absolutely changed that day, because it was the thought that actually nobody really knows anything. And if you choose to believe that you have a life sentence, and you're probably going to live out that life sentence, whereas if you choose to not believe it and choose to live every day and enjoy your life and keep your energy high, then who knows? So as you say, she's way past that, years past that, and she still seems really healthy and just loving life and traveling and enjoying her time.
And we saw her at that party, and she looked younger then at that party than she did several years before that.
Mm.
And this is the case. And I can't remember her surname right now. Diane, I don't think is on here, but her name was Jaker, and she met Jaker, and I was introduced to Jaker maybe about 18 months ago. Diane met her a bit earlier when she was doing her journey training, and Jaker had cancer. And she did all the journey work, finished the course, and then it developed into stage 4 cancer. So first she was given the all clear, then he came back and she had stage 4 cancer, which means it was far worse. Today, she looks several years younger, and she's been diagnosed cancer-free because she fully gave into it and was willing to die. And there are stories upon stories upon stories. There are books written about these people, that the turning point was when they finally said, okay, if that's it, that's it. I'm not fighting it. And by that, they didn't mean they were giving up. They just accepted their mortality. And so they started to live. So everything that you're fearing, and I mean absolutely everything, at the heart of it is this fear of death. And until you face it, you will continue to fear everything. And you won't let go of the fear and you will suffer. If you face it, fear will still come up, but you will face it and you will feel it and it will go and you will never suffer from it. That's the difference. To suffer your way to death or to live your way to death. What is it that you are going to choose? Because what you decide, that's what you have control over. You don't have control over how, when, where, what time, but you have control over how you face it when it's there. I was telling a story the other day. Some of you might have been there, I don't know, but there was a man who was on business in a particular town, a city, and one day he got up and he opened the curtains, and there across the street from the hotel was the angel of death walking by, and he looked up straight at him, and the man was absolutely freaked out. He grabbed everything he could and ran out the room, ran out the back entrance of the hotel and managed to hail a taxi, and he jumped into the taxi and said, take me to the airport as fast as you can, I'll pay you double. And so the taxi sped off. He arrived at the airport, walked to the counter and said, give me a ticket. Where to? Anywhere, just give me a ticket as far as possible. And so they gave him a ticket across the seas to another country. And he got on the plane and he relaxed. And he arrived several hours later in the other country. And he booked himself into a hotel and finally relaxed because it escaped death. Because it said that when you meet the angel of death, that's it. That's your time. And he went up to his room, opened the door, and there, sat on the bed, looking at him, was the angel of death. And he said, I saw you earlier this morning. And the angel of death said, yes, I saw you too, and I wondered why, because I knew I had an appointment with you this evening. When it's your time, it's your time. How you meet it is up to you. The problem isn't the coronavirus. The problem is the virus in there. It's the virus that is disrupting your computer. It's the virus that's taking over with all this fear and panic and worry and all the rest of the shit. That's what's going to kill you. And I remember working with Larry, who was Leicester's student. And it was soon after my heart attack that I went to America. And on the second retreat that I went to, it was called Final Steps. And it was called Final Steps because it was about facing the fear of death. And we headed straight into it. And all the shit came up for me. I remember getting up and walking to the back of the room, to the audio desk, and talking to one of the guys there who took me to one side, sat down with me and worked through all the stuff that was coming up. And the work was really just facing up to it, saying yes to it. So can you say yes to whatever comes down the line to you over the next few weeks and months and maybe years? Can you say yes to everything? Because you have no control of anything that comes down that. Because the only thing you have control over is how you respond. There's a book by an enlightened master called Nisargadatta, and he tells the story of floating down the river, and it's the river of life, and you're there, you're floating. And on the left bank and on the right bank, you see the scenery, and there you pass through areas which you absolutely love, and you want to stay there longer. So you start to swim towards the shore, and you hang on to the bank, hoping to stay there longer. But the current still takes you. It's a real effort to hang on. And you see things which you don't like, and you try to swim away from them, get away as fast as you can. And that takes effort. And he said, all that's required is for you to just lie there and let the currents take you. Because whether it's through good or bad, this too will pass. So stop your fight. Stop the fight to cling on to the things that you want and to push away the things that you don't want. The attachment and the aversion. Because it's just wasting your life force. And that life force is there to protect you, to preserve you. But all you got to do is just lie there and just let that current take you, because it will anyway. No matter how much you fight it, the current will carry on. So those of you who shared earlier, where are you now? So let me just ask a couple of you. Alison, you shared that you were worried about your mum who was planning to self-isolate.
Yes. I think she'll be fine. If she's not, it's her time. And the same if we're not, it's our time. And actually I feel quite comfortable about that at the moment.
And can you just allow yourself to be there for her if she needs you, if she asks for you, and if she doesn't, that's okay as well. Just be there.
Yeah, I can.
And enjoy whatever time you have.
Yes.
Appreciating, loving, caring for each other.
Yeah.
And in that, you will have lived. And I remember Simon talking about this after I'd finished coaching. One day we were talking, and I'd also coached Simon's mum for a short time because whilst I was working with Simon, she was diagnosed with cancer, and Simon asked if I would work with her. And Nicola, you may have heard him say this, that he wouldn't swap those days again, because he spent some days with her. He took a trip to Scotland, and he said there was an honesty there in their communication. He wouldn't change that to have her back again, because what they shared was so powerful, so deep, the connection there. He said he wouldn't change that to have her back physically, because he knew he'd have the best relationship he could have had, and she also acknowledged that in those days. So if there's anything that you would change in your life, face it and let it go, because you can't change it. It's in the past.
Yeah.
And Julia, you were worried about the financial impact. So what? There are many people, I'm sure there are other people here who've had businesses go down, who've been wiped out, and they've come back. So what if everything goes? Just go to that place where you lose absolutely everything. What's left?
Nothing.
How do you know? Because there's something left which knows to answer nothing. Even when everything's been taken away, you're still there. You still haven't, you haven't been taken away. And when I realized that, I could start to come back from the liquidation and the money losses and all the rest. They could take away everything, but what they couldn't take away was me. And as long as I'm here, anything could happen. And then when you face death, and you'll have to take my word for it, unless you actually done it, when you face death, you realize that they can take away your body, but you're still here. And then you can laugh at death as well. You can laugh at the angel of death. Because the angel of death is nothing other than your own mind trying to scare you. Because what petrifies the mind isn't the death of the body, it's the death of the mind. So you look startled.
Do I?
All right, you're just peaceful.
I'm feeling very calm and peaceful at the moment.
It'll pass.
I know.
Because worrying about the financial impact makes you less responsive to what there is there. That's when you make mistakes. That's when you take silly decisions. That's when you actually bring about the very thing that you fear. So that's all it is. So Vina, for you, it was your compromised immune system. Who decided it was compromised? Hang on. Yeah, go on. Unmute yourself.
It's what the doctor told me.
Mm.
That I have a compromised immune system, and just listening to you, actually, I realised that I've been letting the fear rule me, and I need to let go of that fear, which I have. I feel so much more calmer, and it's what Jenny said as well. You live fully or die slowly. and I certainly want to live fully and not let fear, rule me. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah, Lester Levinson was told after his second heart attack to go home and prepare to die. They said, they said you got about 3 months. Just go home to put your affairs into order. And he was 42 years old at that time. He died 42 years later, well after all the doctors that were on duty that day. Some of whom were younger than him. Nobody knows about you as much as you do.
It's very true.
The only thing that's been compromised is your thinking and then your feeling. Because of the virus that doctor inserted by saying you've got a compromised immune system. There are many people who had compromised immune systems who've got over whatever illness. There are people who've actually literally medically died and they've come back. Sometimes not just minutes after, but hours after. Nobody understands how, but does it matter? Are they going to listen to somebody who says, well, it's not possible, you should be dead? Do not believe what anybody tells you, including me. Take it for checking, as I say at Emotional Mastery. So for you, I would suggest doing some Byron Katie work on that statement. And I would word it as Rena has a compromised immune system.
Okay. Yeah, how true is that thought or fact? Yeah, I will. Thank you. I'm just making a note.
And don't just do it in your mind. Actually sit down with a piece of paper and ideally let somebody guide you through it.
On that note, actually, where can I get a blank attachment in an ANA form?
It's on the forum, on the section called Files.
Okay, cool.
If you can't find it, let us know. We'll point it out.
Okay, thank you.
So, not many other people shared anything. Is that because there's nothing going on for you, or because you didn't feel able to share? Yeah, sorry, Dave, you did share something. So, sorry, just remind me. It was about.
No, it wasn't that. It was more picking up on something that's been said, and also an experience that I had. So the experience was just registering for the call. Fear went, because the act of registering for it made me think, what are the things that I have got fear about at the moment? And immediately I start thinking about them. I realise how stupid they all are. And I can't control them, so they go. But the thing about facing death, I did that just over 12 years ago. And I can assure people that if you get to that point that you face it and you're perfectly accepting that you're happy to die and there's no issue with it, it's an enormous relief in life. It was a horrendous experience to have gone through, but when you come out the other side, it just gives a completely different perspective on everything.
Yeah. And do you find that sometimes people nowadays say that you're reckless, or you kind of don't pay attention to stuff when you should?
Yeah.
So same with me.
Yeah. So with everything that's going on, I like statistics and information, so I do track what's happening. I'm very careful about where I get that information from. I want it to be from recognised, approved government type sources. And the reality is, if you look at what's happened everywhere else, this is going to get a lot worse. But if you get caught up in it all if I allow myself to get caught up in all of that, all it means is that I'll go into isolation tomorrow. And I don't need to. I need to be sensible. I need to do the right things, the sensible things, but I don't need to go into lockdown tomorrow.
Yeah, and for me, I came out on the Saturday to give that training, and that was fine. And then after that, they announced the categories of people, and furthermore, Diane sat in on a high-level call today, and they said all the people that are within the NHS system that they think are at the higher risk, they're going to write to each and every one of them, telling them which one of the 3 categories that they fall into in terms of risk and what action they should be taking.
Yeah.
So they are getting clearer, but whatever they're saying, check in with yourself, because you're the only person that can make that decision. Yes, you might not have it, you might just be carrying it, and other people might get it off you. Just face all of this and make the decision that's best for you, because there is no right and there is no wrong. There are only shades of grey. Which shade you should be, only you know. But whatever you do, know that this community is here to support you. If you get diagnosed as positive and go into isolation, don't just sit there suffering, reach out. There's a whole host of people here that will work with you, that will help you, that will help you increase your energy. Because by working with you and helping you, they're helping themselves. The question is, are you the sort that will reach out for help, or are you the sort that will actually hunker down and try to face it yourself? Because there are people like that. You don't need to. You don't need to make it harder than it is. So,
say a problem shared is a problem 2 people have.
Yep. But it's a smaller problem that both people have.
Absolutely. And it's less of
So here's what we're offering. Dave or John, do you want to speak? Because I just want to take a break from speaking. What we've been talking about in terms of how we can help, and that's myself, Dave, John, and Diane, and there may be others who will join in as well.
Foggy, you speak, Dave.
Oh, both stepping forward. We were talking today. What we've decided we'll do. We're happy to offer Zoom calls on a regular basis for anyone who wants to participate. Very similar to what we're doing tonight. We will be doing them at regular times over the next few weeks. First one will be starting either Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember. And I'm looking at John, but John doesn't know I'm looking at him because I'm looking at the camera and he's over there on the screen.
I thought it was Monday, but then.
Well, the first one might be Monday then. In that case, the first one's Monday.
Yes, it was Monday we decided.
Monday, Thursday, 8 p.m. and the Saturday at 2 p.m.
Or the Sunday at 4 p.m.
Or the Sunday at 4 p.m, whichever John prefers. But we will let everyone know. I think we'll certainly be posting into the Facebook group, and I think also, am I right? The idea is that anyone's invited as well. This isn't just for EM grads. This isn't just for...
Most of these are open calls, and we won't be doing intense work with them in the way that we can do with you, because they don't have those tools and they're just going to get more confused. But it's a chance to speak with them and talk in broad brush principles, as I did yesterday with the accountants. They just need to hear something that is going to give them hope. And we will work with them. There are also plans. I don't know how this is going to work out. I've got kind of a couple of things that I need to explore. I think all of you have watched the emotional power videos before coming onto EM. Off the back of that, some of you have also had coaching before you came to EM, because that's the very basic stuff before you do EM. those videos are on a new platform, and what we're offering to do, and there may be, as far as I'm aware, I think we can do this completely free, although we as a company need to pay for this service, because in order to give them away to people, we need to purchase coupons to give away to people. So we need to upgrade the package to purchase the package by which we can actually give it away free to people. So those people that you know have showed an interest, those people that you know could do with some help, they can have this. And now it may take a few days, maybe a week or two to actually practically sort it out, but that's the offer. Now, I know people have paid £200 plus VAT for that course, just the videos. What we have is not just the videos, there's a whole series of exercises that Jenny has designed to put with the videos. So it's a comprehensive course. Some of you also had coaching off the back of that, and we're planning to run some group coaching calls for people who go through the videos and would like some coaching. The cost of all of this, I think, will be about £20. That's just to cover our overheads. So they're getting something that's worth about or anywhere between £500 to £1,000, depending on who's coaching them. If I was coaching them, it was at the upper end. If it was Dave or John, it's cheap.
It wouldn't be so much.
I'm going to be paying them for the privilege.
But we are giving our time to do this, and there is, we're not doing this to make money. It doesn't matter to us if they never buy anything else off us. What we care is we help as many people get through this in the best way possible, so that when we come out the other side, we are geared towards living life rather than trying to get through day by day. Knocked over by this and given up all hope. There are people that do that course that turn their lives around. Susanna, I remember you saying when you first came that just that alone was worth the whole cost of emotional mastery in what you experienced with it. Do you want to just share very quickly, why you said that?
Yeah.
Let me just unmute you.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, so I think I started talking to you in August, and then Emotional Mastery was in November, and you shared the videos, and I think I had a couple of calls with you, a couple of calls with Dave, and from a place of, I was really low, really angry, really low, not above the level or anything, but from a place of being below the line. By the time I'd got to November, I'd already done some kind of transformation just from the videos and just from the phone calls. I was already in, I felt, a much better place, a good place to then go into emotional mastery and then increase that again. So yeah, the coaching and the videos alone, that was well worth the cost of emotional mastery and more, for sure.
And as I said, I think it'll be £20. I can't see it being above that as a cost if they want something worth a lot more than that. Because we're not bothered about the money, we're bothered that people actually do something to ensure that their life is a lot better. So this, we'll give you the coupon. I'm not sure how it works, but basically you can either gift it to somebody or get them to pay the 20 quid, whatever. It doesn't matter to me which way you do it. But I think this is an opportunity for all of you to help some of the loved ones around you. This is what coronavirus is bringing out in us. There is a heck of a lot of good happening across the world because of coronavirus. And we've decided we want to contribute to that. Because we've got at least me and John sitting around at home with lots of time on our hands. Dave's not got any work lined up until sort of middle of April or something. So we might as well do something at that time. And Diane is also willing to help towards it as much as she can, but right now she's working for an organization that is working with the NHS, and that's taking up a fair bit of time, at least until the end of this month. So that's one of the things. And then, you know, the drop-in calls are another form of help that we can give, and they don't need to know anything for that. If they've done seen the videos from the one day, it will help a bit more with the understanding, but the way we're going to be talking, you don't need to know any of the tools. So again, you know, if they feel more comfortable coming onto a conference with you, then we'll do it that way. We're also planning to do it on 2 platforms. So people who sign into Zoom can actually interact with us, but we'll also Facebook Live it, so people from Facebook can just watch in, but they can't interact with the conference unless they're in the Zoom room itself. So that, you know, if they're kind of really scared and they don't want to be present in the room, they can watch it that way. But I think people will get the buzz that something's happening. People are being helped, and they'll ask, well, how can I be a part of that group? How can I be the one that gets to work with one of these people? All of this is without any charge. We're doing this so that we can help you build your communities even quicker through this time. So you can help your loved ones take advantage of this. And it's up to them whether they do or not. You can't dictate that. We can't dictate that, but it's there. And we'll see how the conferences go. We'll put the times in. We're going to be there. If there's nobody there, we'll wait about 5-10 minutes. If nobody turns up, then we'll just, I don't know, go and have a cup of tea or a beer or watch TV. So these are some of the things that we can do. And if you know other communities or groups, kind of forums that we can spread this to, we're willing to do this. Those of you that are involved with property investment, if you know other groups that can benefit from that service, I'll do it. I'm not bothered how many people get involved with this. I don't know what else I've got to share, really. Dave, John, anything I missed out that you can think of?
Nothing you missed out, no. No, nothing I can think of.
Any questions from anybody about anything that I've shared or anything that I've not shared?
Sanjay, can I just say thank you so much. That's that's so kind of you guys to volunteer your time to help people, especially in this really worrying time. And I'll certainly make sure it's shared around. So it's the Zoom calls a couple of times a week.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do is we'll gather this and we'll send you emails to kind of summarize everything and with the links and everything. But I'm just telling you what we've kind of come up with. Literally, this is no more than 24 hours old. I think we spoke about it yesterday evening. And this is kind of still developing, but we know we want to do it. And it's just a case of making it happen. And there are some hurdles in the way, but we'll overcome them.
Thank you. And without a shadow of a doubt, being part of this community has absolutely changed my life. So I will sing that to the rafters for everyone else to join in with. So thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions, comments? Teresa, yes. Let me just unmute you. Okay.
Sanjay, I was just going to say that following sort of Money Mastery on Saturday, one of the things that you said was, you know, be open to abundance and it might not come from the place you're expecting. So I wasn't, my abundance was time. Looks like I'm going to get it.
It's all your fault.
It's similar to John. He said he wanted to be doing this full time, and he's got his opportunity now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was going to be like a month later.
Let go of how it happens, whatever it is that you're looking for, because the moment you decide on how, you're putting limitation in the way.
absolutely. So, yeah, I think there's actually an opportunity for time to work on ourselves and get to understand who we are, which is a positive thing to take from it.
We're going to have time, we're going to have isolation, we're going to have plenty of opportunities for mind attacks.
Mm.
And
Right.
it's when those mind attacks happen that we need to get together,
Yeah.
with, individually with each other or as a group, and really dive into this. Because I would not be alive today if it wasn't for this work. I certainly wouldn't be able to work with as many people as I do. And I believe that I made a difference to a lot of people. What I have no idea of is how many of those people have gone on to make a difference to other people who then made a difference to other people. I'm living my life's purpose. And the stupid thing, or the funny thing about it is all I had ever had to do was be myself. Took me the best part of 40 years to realize that, because I've been trying to figure it out and there wasn't anything to figure out. And every one of you can do everything that you wish to do in life. It just won't happen in the way that you think it should. Anyone else? Any questions, comments? Shaka?
I don't have any questions, but I just would like to thank you, basically, Jenny, with the thanks, and thanks, Dave and John, for your time, guys. I would really like to get somehow more actively involved to help with anything that I could do within my abilities, because as I said at the beginning, what I have decided very proactively, that through all this, and I learned that in the past, that if I go out my way to help people, that's the best way, I suppose, in your language, to raise the energy and use to thinking about your self-pity. Because
when we start these coaching calls, the group coaching, if that takes place, I don't know if it will, it just depends on the take-up, but even if there's one person, we'll run the call. If you can join in on that, join in, and you'll learn how to work with people in that way on there. And at this stage, just turn up, any of you, just turn up as often as you can, because even if you heard it 1,000 times before, turn up, because that insight might come when you are least expecting it. That's why I kept on going to, and I still do, but all of three of us and Diane have invested in the course in Amsterdam. We don't know if it's going to go ahead. Me, Dave, and John have invested in the course in America. We don't know if it's going to go ahead. But we continue to throw ourselves in to stuff that all of us have done. The Amsterdam course, we've all done at least 2 or 3 times before. I've done it 4 or 5 times. Why do I keep going back? Because every single time when I'm sitting there, when I'm least expecting it, I get an insight. And I owe it to myself to keep on putting myself in situations at which the possibility of an insight into life increases. And I can't put a price on that, because however much I've invested in this journey, and it's been tens of thousands of pounds, upwards of £50,000 probably now, I've got back far more than that. If you just count in financial terms, if you count in terms of happiness, you can't put a value on it. That's what's on offer for every single one of you with these tools that you come across. So if anybody else wants to speak, a couple more people, I'll carry on. Otherwise, I think that's it for this evening. Yep, Andy. I can't hear you. Can you check your microphone? No, still can't hear you. It says that your microphone is active here. Look on the screen bottom left where the microphone symbol is. And there's an arrow next to it. Click that and make sure that the microphone Zoom is selected, because it might be being used by Skype or another program. Nope, you're still silent. Put it on the forum, Andy, and I'll address it. Anybody else? Steve, hi.
Hi, it's just confirmation of what you were saying earlier about dying, because I've done that, and I was within Nat's whisker of doing it again a few years later. And you do, when you said you don't take yourself seriously, that's definitely something that resonates with me. And being down to my last couple of rolls of toilet paper, and with enough shopping for one night in the fridge, I suppose that's the way I live life, really, in that you just know it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So I don't get worried about it. I always feel a little bit sad that everybody else has to be so organized. And is that being reckless? I don't know if it's been reckless. But it's like, you just know. Like, I was just telling the people around me that I'm out of toilet paper. So all of a sudden people are coming out with rolls of toilet paper for me. And it's like that real community spirit, and it gives everybody something to laugh about. But maybe I'm just a really bad planner.
There's I think it's in Thailand, I can't remember, but there the Buddhist monks walk the streets with their bowls, begging basically for, they will only eat anything that's donated. If they don't receive food, they don't eat. And people used to wonder, and still do probably wonder, why is it that they do that? Well, that's really demeaning, going out and begging every day for your food. It was to teach them that the universe always provides. That when you ask, when you hold your hands out, the universe always provides, but you have to hold your hands out in humility, in surrender. And I used to kind of wonder, why the hell did they do that? Surely they can be fed in other ways, but it was to teach them to surrender completely, to take away every aspect of ego and know that they will be looked after. And in a way, that's what coronavirus is doing in its own way. Anna, can I bring you on? Because we had a conversation this morning. How are you now? Because you called me because you weren't worried. I'll unmute you. Okay,
sorry, I was to unmute myself. Yeah, I'm still not worried. Yeah, I phoned Sanjay this morning because I had loads of energy, and as I was noticing people get more and more stressed around me, I was feeling more and more peaceful. And then I had too much energy. I didn't know what to do with it this morning, so I phoned Sanjay. Yeah, good. I had to go out to the shops. I've also not really got much food in, and lots of the shelves were empty. But what I noticed is actually everyone was really friendly. I've had more conversations in shops than I've ever had in my life, mainly about toilet roll and soap and stuff. But it's interesting, that community feel, and when you sort of tune into the good things that are going on around you, then you still see it everywhere, and even more so in some ways.
I didn't think of it at the time, but it just occurred to me that you may remember, because I mention it on Emotional Mastery usually, about using other people's negativity to go high. If other people are negative to you, you can use that to go high, and I think that's what you've been doing. Rather than let it drag you down, you go high by releasing on their shit.
Yeah, yeah, that resonates. There's always a reflection, whatever you see in other people, a reflection. So I agree, there's always an opportunity to go internally when you're feeling scared or annoyed or frustrated, or yeah, and then you see all the good things. So it's good.
And who else? Oh, can you hear me? Can you speak at all? Let me unmute you first. Okay.
I can hear you now.
Hi. So can you share your experience from Saturday and how you are now?
I think going into Saturday, I had a lot of overwhelm, and coming away from the day, and especially after the breathwork component, and during it, I seemed to get a lot of clarity, and that definitely lasted quite a few days after that. And the last few days, I've had a little bit of overwhelm, but I've felt able to get above the line much quicker. And I haven't felt any fear from the actual coronavirus itself. A few concerns about where the economy going, but I think nothing overwhelming.
And the concerns about the economy in the past, I would have said, yeah, that they're real, because it matters where the economy is. It doesn't matter where the economy is, it matters where you are, because even if the economy dives, but you're in a high energy, you'll come out of it okay. And that's the key thing, is those people who are in the highest energy will always come out of these things okay. And in many cases, not just okay, but actually thriving, building from it. Don't know how, but it happens. All you need to know, or all you need to really do, is to be open to that.
Yeah.
And you turned up on Saturday, you were open, and you got all the breakthroughs that you did because of that.
Agreed. It was a great day.
Yeah, it was. And for me, it was at the end, it was almost like, oh, I didn't want that to end. Karen, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So what are your reflections now from Saturday?
I feel calm. I feel like I just want to help people. I sort of feel like whatever problems we will get or it will arise, we just sort them out then and there and just focus on the solution. My husband started working since Tuesday from home, so he's taking over my office. But it is fine. I sort of come to terms that, the property sort of side of it needs to calm down a bit because I need to become a full-time mom. What else? Today, last night I realized I didn't have any cat ball. So today I just contacted a few places, they didn't have it. But then I went to the last pharmacy that actually thought that they had some. They didn't, it's been taken. And then she just said, just go to this pharmacy. And so I did. And again, I was in acceptance because they said they were going to get some stock on Saturday. So I sort of feel like, if the coronavirus hits me, fine, it's a flu. I will recover. I'm fit, I'm healthy, whatever comes. I just make sure, I think I've become more nurturing. I just want to feed my girls well. So this evening we made soup together for the week. I went to see a friend that actually she may have it. She's been in her house for about 7 days already. And I went to see her. Obviously I didn't get close to her, but I just took her a bar of chocolate and some flowers. and she was really, really grateful. And then I asked her, do you have everything? And she said, well, I'm running out of paracetamol. You know, okay. So luckily we found some at the pharmacy, and I said to the lady, do you mind if I take 2 boxes? Because obviously you normally allow just 2 boxes per person. And she said, no, that's fine. You could take 4, you could take more. And I was like, really? I can't believe it. I don't want to stock up. It's just the fact this friend has got the corona and the COVID-19. So no, you don't need, I don't need any proof. Just take it. And oh, thank you. So that's that. And today, for the first time, I went to the shop saying it was empty. And I felt really sad because we got, you know, we are fine, but it's the fact that people's behavior is just not right. Because I'm coming from a very poor country, this is no third world crisis. There's plenty of food in this country, and there's no need for people to panic like this. So that makes me sad because, you know, India has got so much to give. So we're fine. I think the only things that has been hitting us is trying to sign this portfolio. And we went to see the landlords, when is that, on, I forgot, this week. I forgot when, on Tuesday. And I thought, right, we got everything lined up. Let's sign head of terms. And we didn't. And it's just because he's a big player and he just wants to pass on every details to his solicitors. And so I just felt like, ooh, out of control. And I was really, really deflated that night. That I was so exhausted, I just went to bed at 9:30, and I don't normally go to bed that time. And the next day I felt really deflated as well. And Richard was trying to lift me up, and I just said, look, I need to feel like this. Let me just be it. And today, Thursday, so that was yesterday. Yeah, I was yesterday. And today I feel much better. And so it just, yeah, it comes and goes with the whole, with this portfolio we're trying to sign. But Richard sort of explained it to me. He is helping massively. You know, you're trying to do a process from A to B. Colin wants to do a process here that he's bringing it here, and it's not the way that you want it, but it's his way, and you cannot control it. And I say, yeah, that's true. But so it's just coming into acceptance slowly, and just stop the want, and then just let it be.
And right throughout, just whatever comes up, just keep letting go. All of you, just keep letting go, because you have the power to do that. You can't control the economy, you can't control the virus, you can't control other people, but you have full control of whether or not you let go or you hold on. Exercise that and see your lives improve as you exercise it. Because all we can do is work on the things that we can control. So if you can control your response to something by letting go, work on that, because you can control it. But it's a choice, and you have to stay vigilant. And the easiest way of doing that is to be in touch with other people. So wherever you are, I hope you'll join in on these regular conferences, because you'll find, as I did, that even though they seemed to be going through the same old stuff, and I had to call America to do the calls, and they used to last 3 hours. So those of you that think my calls are long, you haven't been on those calls. And you never know when the light goes on. So we're going to be here whether you're here or not. And, if you're not here, we'll probably have an in-depth chat between us. And we've had some great realizations by doing that. But of course, because you're not on here, you'll have missed out. So I'll leave you with that thought. How do you want to approach this? How do you want to approach the next few weeks and months? How do you want to come out of this? Do you want to survive or do you want to thrive? There's not many things you can control, but there are some things you can. Do you want to be a shepherd or do you want to be the sheep? Because the two have very different approaches. I see myself as a shepherd, and that's very different to being one of the sheep. I don't want to make a difference. I want to be the difference, because that's a very different approach. You know, if all of you do that in your businesses, it will dramatically change everything for you. Jackie, are you putting your hand up? Go on. Let me unmute you. Okay.
Yeah, just really sharing, because I'm exactly in that role with my business. We've got a core business at House of Colour which relies on face-to-face contact, and we don't have to do everything face-to-face, but that's where it starts. So the immediate response of a lot of our consultants is, I can't do anything. And it's fascinating to see the people that are stepping up, the people that are responding, the people that are getting creative and being innovative. And one of the things that's been really clear to me is that in a time of crisis, people want a leader. You know, all the times, going back to the World War, going back to the Brighton bomb, you know, it didn't matter who the leader was. We want to look to somebody, we want hope and we want leadership. And this is our chance to step up in whatever big or small way we're going to do it. I got a group together today that I've been coaching, and of the three of them, one of them has been really stepping out. One of them I know has been caught up because her mother passed away last week, and the other one's been really quiet, and so I called them on it. And it turns out that the quiet one has been busy working for her clients, but she hadn't seen that she could also then share what she's been doing into her colleagues' community, so that the people struggling there could get some inspiration from her as well. There's so many different levels of leadership, but hope is what will keep people through. I think this is quite exciting at some level, because on the other side of this rocky road, we will be different. The only thing that we need to be ready for is how long is the road and how rocky is it, and that's where our relationship to it, our choice of reaction, will make the difference. Yeah.
And that's a great way to finish, just to say you are all leaders in your own communities, or you can be. It's a choice.
Sanj.
Yes, go on. Sorry.
So, do you mind? I was a bit incensed the other day when my initial response was like anger when they came out with the loan suggestion, but then I sort of that subsided. I thought, actually, you can get up to 5 million, right? Borrow 5 million, stick it in the stock market because it's going to come back up 40%. That's made you 2 million. So there's going to be opportunities there.
Yeah, and there are people who will grow out of this recession. Every recession has seen people who really thrived out of it. And the only difference between them and the ones who didn't wasn't the level of skill. It wasn't how much money they had. It wasn't anything except their approach to it. They decided that they were going to thrive. And I'm encouraging all of you to look beyond this. This too will pass. Let the river carry you. This too will pass. You may not like the view at the moment, but this too will pass. And look beyond. And prepare for what's beyond whilst you've got the time. The virus is giving us all the time to prepare for the future. Use that time wisely. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you all again. And thank you for contributing, and I hope you benefited. Please post on the forum what you got out of it, so that others who couldn't make it or didn't make it here, they can see that, because the only way we're going to be sharing this and growing it is if we also share what we get out of this. So that's it from me. Thank you. Dave, John, anything to say?
It's good night from him, and it's good night from him, and good night from me. Really.
And good night from him.
Monday night, 8 p.m. That's the first call.
Is that when it is?
Yeah, I've just decided.
Right, I'm clicking end meeting. So everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.